Hi, this is Vicki with a Paper Connection. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, and I am so happy to be with you today. When I'm shooting, this is actually early October, and in Middle Georgia, it's still in the 90s. But when you're a paper crafter, you have to do your Christmas cards early to get them all done. And I just wanted to share this Christmas card with you. It is so pretty. I love it. All of this is stamped, and I used Snowfront to do it. This beautiful stamp set to do it. You'll notice there aren't any sentiments, and so that's when I brought in Greatest Part of Christmas. This is a great stamp set. If you don't have any other stamp set that you're using for Christmas, this is a fantastic one to use. We have such pretty designer series paper in our catalog that you could actually use the designer series paper and then just purchase this, and you can make great cards with it. But I am going to combine this, Snowfront, and Buffalo Check. This is such a fun card to use, or fun stamp set to use. I am actually having a card class tonight that we'll be stamping cows, and her background will be used. I'll be using Buffalo Check, black and white. This time, though, we're going to use Garden Green. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. In order to make this, I am going to use my Buffalo Check stamp set. I'm also going to use my Stamparatus, and I've already cut everything that I need in order to make the card. So I'm just going to take my Whisper White cardstock. It's cut at 4 by 5 1/4. But don't worry, you don't have to write that down. All of the measurements and all the supplies that I used will be at in the description of the video. And so I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to use the guideline of my Stamparatus so that I know exactly where to place it. The great thing about a Stamparatus is if you don't get it stamped perfectly the first time, you can re-ink it and stamp it again. And also the Stamparatus comes with a second plate, so you can do multiples. So you can stamp an image, and then you can stamp a sentiment. It's perfect when you're doing lots and lots of cards. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink up my stamp set with Garden Green. Okay, takes a lot of ink for stamps this size. And then I'm just going to close the lid. And then I'm just going to press on it a little bit, give it a little CPR, a little bit of a belly rub. Sorry if the table is moving, my desk is moving. Okay, then I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm going to go into one of the grooves. I don't know if you can see the grooves in there. There we go. When I pick this up, that paper is going to, actually I'm going to use this is a little thinner. When I pick this up, this paper is going to want to stick to the stamp set. So I'm just going to hold it down and lift it up like that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. There's a little spot right in there. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, in case you haven't noticed from my videos. And it is a little bit cattywampus, but it's going to be all right. I'm going to go ahead and shut that again. Just ink that up, or press that ink in there. And I'll do the same thing again. I'm just going to take my paper piercing tool. There, that's much better. Okay, and it's really not, you're not going to notice it that it's a little crooked on the paper because there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. So, all right, I'll clean this and I'll be right back. I've already cut out my stitched oval, and I used the largest stitched oval die that we have. So I'm going to set that aside, and I'll tell you the reason. Now normally I would stamp first and then cut out, but I wanted this to be contained, and I didn't want to get carried away and get get my image too large. So I needed to know what my parameters were. And you'll notice I have my Stampin' Pierce mat. So I'm doing that because my stamp set is photopolymer. And you're going to get a much better image if you are stamping a photopolymer on top of your Stampin' Pierce mat. All right, so I'm going to start with the house. I found this stamp set to be just a little bit tricky until I figured out how to do it. And the trick to it is you decide what your focal point is. My focal point, the thing that I want to draw your attention to, is the cabin. So you put that down first. So I'm going to do that in soft suede right there. And you'll have to pardon me because I'll have to change stamps off my block a few times. I actually have a stamp class tonight, so yeah, a lot of my my blocks are already packed away in the kits for tonight. But the next thing I'm going to do, and you may not even be able to see it that well, but hidden in the trees is a mountain, and that's this. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm using gray granite. I want to see how dark that's going to be. Yep, that's a little darker than I want it to be. So I'm stamping off, and then I'm going to place my mountain right about in here, like that. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my water, because I want to make sure that my water is in place before I start doing the ground and the trees. And I'm using Seaside Spray. That's a lot of S's going on there, isn't it? Okay. All right. Now see, I got a little ink there on top. I have been a messy Marvin today, man. I'm telling you, I've had a tough time doing things without being a mess. You know, some days you just have those days. Okay, clean that off. And then I'm going to bring in the land. And I'm going to use crumb cake for that. And I'm just going to place that right here under the cabin. Place a little bit more right here. And it will end up drying lighter than what it looks. Now I'm actually going to flip it around to hit the curve right here in this area. And I'm doing first and second generational stamping as well. Put that right there just to cover that little spot. And then I'm going to bring in just a little bit right in here because I'm going to put trees in. And the first, second, and third generational stamping will be your friend on this, because it'll help you fill in some spots. Now that looks kind of messy right now, but you'll see that it'll end up being quite lovely. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in my trees. And I'm basically using two of them. And I'm going to bring in garden green to do this. And I'll show you how, oops, I'm going to have to cover that with a tree, I reckon. I got a little bit of the crumb cake on there. All right, so I'm going to go full on right here. And then I'm going to go a little bit more right there. Okay? Then I'm going to go full on right here, and then there, and then I may even go like that to try to cover that up a little bit. I'm going to go full on right there, and then I'm going to go lighter right there. And you can still see the mountain in the range back there. I'm going to go a little bit darker right there, and I know I'm stamping over it, but it's okay because I want it to look like a forest somewhat. And then I'm going to come over here with it. Just like that. Not real difficult, is it? And yet it actually is very pretty. Especially when you pick it up and you don't see all the mess that's around it. Okay? That actually ends up being very pretty. So now let's assemble our card. Okay, before we actually start assembling our card, let's go ahead and stamp the inside of it. And I'm going to use the sentiment that says, wishing you a Christmas of smiles and love that will last all year. And I'm going to do that in garden green. There we go. So now I can put the ink away and we can assemble our card. I'm going to use my Tombow, which is my glue of choice. Varnish that. And let's go ahead and put this on the inside. Okay. We'll stick that right here on the inside of it. Okay. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to adhere my buffalo check. And we'll place that right here on the front side, just like that. Then I'm going to, this is, okay, I'm going to place this next, but I just sidetrack. This is actually from the pressed Petals Designer Series paper. And look at that wood grain. Is that not gorgeous? This is pretty too with the flowers, but the wood grain is just spectacular. So we're just going to place that right over here. And I cut it the same size as the Whisper White, which I think it might be about 2.5 by 5 1/4. Trying to make sure that I get my margins even on it. Y'all, it has been one of those days. I do have one more thing I need to stamp that I forgot about, and that's the sentiment that's going to go on the front. And I'm using soft suede and the sentiment, thinking of you at Christmas time. And I'm just going to do that on the crumb cake. Perfect. Ta-da! Now we're going to bring out the magical dimensionals. Place that on the back. I use dimensionals, and I am not afraid to. I want to make sure my card holds up when it goes through the machine at the post office. So let's go ahead and put them on the back of this as well. All right. Before I put that down, though, I want to get my ribbon, which is right here. And I need to make sure I have myself a little point going on there, just like that. And basically what I did, I just kind of made sure that I had enough to be able to crisscross it like this. Like that. So just cut this off like this. I think I need to clean my scissors. And I'm going to use the backs of these, the dimensionals, to help secure that in place. Okay. All right, so we'll put this right here. That's actually cut in the wrong direction, so hold on. I'm a little persnickety. You know what? I think I might use a glue dot to secure that, actually. Y'all, I know I'm all over the place today. I am so sorry. So let's put that there. And all right, and then we're just going to put this in place here, like this. And then we'll bring this in and put it in place. I think we can actually let that go on top. Let's put a glue dot on it, and that way we'll make sure it'll stay. Hey, I glue dot just about everything. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to do is to add some embellishments to it, and I want to use the blue to kind of pick up the blue right here. I could use the lighter blue. Let's see. Let's do that. Let's use the lighter blue. We'll stick a large one here and a little one right up here, kind of like a star. And then we'll do another one up here, also like a star. Love that. Now you could do these in just about any color, but I chose to do it in garden green because of the this ribbon. I wanted to make the plaid to go with the ribbon. I love it. It is such a pretty card. And if you get the tip and you know that you should do your focal point first, it makes making the card a whole lot easier. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry I was all over the place. I'm a little ADD and sometimes that happens. I'm sorry about that. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you will click subscribe and the little bell so that you can get more videos, and in that you would be inspired to create one of these little cards of your own. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.